Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where for today's morning commute, we have this plug-in hybrid compact crossover, but not just any plug-in hybrid compact crossover. This is the 2025 Mercedes-AMG GLC 63 SE Performance, which is a bit of a mouthful, but this is quite the vehicle. Some of you may be familiar with Mercedes' new naming strategy of what they mean when they put this red 63S badge on a car. And we found this out with the yellow AMG GT 4-door. But unlike the V8 and that, the smaller cars like the C63 and the GLC 63 no longer get a V8. In fact, this has the M139 turbocharged 4-cylinder, which when combined with the electric motor in this car and batteries and everything, makes a combined power output of 671 horsepower and 752 pound-feet of torque. Of course, this has the AMG Speed Shift 9-speed automatic transmission, and it is 4MATIC plus all-wheel drive. This thing is nuts, and I just got off of driving a Porsche Taycan Turbo GT, but this still feels incredibly quick. And I'm excited to take you guys all along on my morning commute out to Vintique Motors in Livonia, Michigan today to show you a bit of what it's like to live with this on like a half-hour morning commute. Now, this particular GLC 63S AMG E-Performance Coupe thing is about 110 grand. They start around $90,000, so this has 20 grand in options. It's painted in Verde silver. We have a Sienna brown interior. This has the carbon ceramic brakes. It has the AMG active ride control, so active roll stabilization. We have the driver assistance pack and a couple of other things. Of course, we'll put the spec in the description for you, but this is now the second generation of GLC. It's been around now for a few years. I actually drove a base model of this a couple of years ago on the channel, which I'll link below. You can go check that out, but this is the top dog. And when this powertrain came out on the C63, it was very controversial, and I think it still is. People were upset that the 63 name no longer guaranteed you the 4-liter V8 that they put in cars like the GLE 63 that we were driving a couple of weeks ago. So even though you don't get the V8, this is still the highest performing GLC that you can get. And this one is a coupe. You don't have to have a coupe. You can also have a regular SUV, and it actually costs you 5 grand extra to have this as a coupe. But I think the current styling with these Mercedes-Benz coupes, they do actually look pretty good. I don't know, I'm still deciding. I think by the end of my loan with the GLE coupe, it was growing on me a bit. This one, I think, proportionally is a little bit more awkward. But anyway, let's poke around this real quick before we jump out on the road and commute it to Livonia. We'll start in the back, push in on our Mercedes badge, where you can see the paint quality on this trunk is actually quite poor, but sometimes with press cars, you don't know, maybe it got in like a slight rear end accident and this had to be fixed, because the rest of the paint on the car does look pretty good. In the back here, pretty big boot. I mean, this is very long. I had this in the garage next to Emily's CX-30, and at first glance, I was like, this is the same size as your car, but actually, it's about a foot longer in the back, and you can see that with all of this cargo space. Of course, you can't put anything tall in here because of this sloping rear roofline, but you do have a bit of storage underneath the floor here. You can see you can put a couple extra things under there. No spare tire in this GLC 63S, but we do have this little charging cable that comes along with the car, as this is an plug-in hybrid. So let's actually talk about that a little bit before we show you under the hood, and we'll talk about powertrain. Now, this E-Performance in a Mercedes means this is a plug-in hybrid, but not in the way that you would think. I know I prefaced this video with saying this is a plug-in hybrid compact crossover, but it isn't in the way you'd think. I mean, this isn't really an eco plug-in hybrid. In fact, it only gets about 9 miles of electric driving range. This is all to contribute to the incredible power and torque that you get from this 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. So let's show you that now. Now, since you still get the 63 name, you don't get the V8 anymore, but you do still get a hand-built engine. So this was built by Vlad, and he's done a great job. Have had no problems this week with your craftsmanship, Vlad, but this is the most powerful production four-cylinder engine that currently exists. I mean, on its own, it makes 469 horsepower. 469 horsepower from a four-cylinder turbo engine. It's just madness. And then when you pair it with the electric motor, 671 horsepower, 752 pound-feet of torque. You can see this massive Garrett turbo on here, which also has some electric assist. You can see that little module down there that says Garrett on it right there next to the turbo. So this is a twin-scroll turbo, very easy for you to see, and it looks quite complex. In fact, the whole powertrain and everything on this seems like a total nightmare after warranty. So I don't know that I would really recommend buying one of these a few years down the road, but brand new, I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Hand built, very attractive engine bay, honestly. I like that you could see a lot of what's going on in here. Strut tower brace as well. Goes hand in hand with the active ride control, active roll stabilization that we have on this. I'll show you these carbon ceramic brakes. You can tell they're carbon ceramic from these kind of orange, I don't know, I think they say gold, but it's more of like an orange caliper. And we have some Continental tires on this. What sort of tire is this? A Sport Contact 7, and this is a staggered setup, a 265/40 ZR21 on the front, and on the back a 295/35 ZR21. So a pretty wide tire. But I mean, this car needs it with all of that torque that it's putting down. This weighs 5,200 pounds, so it ain't light. And as we know, electrification does add quite a bit of weight to the equation. Let's jump in the back seat where we get our first glimpse at this beautiful Sienna brown. Very nice. I love all this stitching that goes through the middle here to add some detail. However, looking at it is kind of where the pleasure ends, is when you sit down, it's a bit like a church pew back here. I don't know what it is about this. It's just a very stiff rear seat. And I did actually ride around in the back of this because Tedward was in town for a couple of days this week and he was driving. And yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable seat-wise, but space-wise here, sat behind myself at 5'11", even with a camera on my face, I do have just enough room. The tip of the camera does touch the headliner, but if you're a normal person that doesn't wear a camera on your face, I think you'll be just fine. We have pretty comfy elbows back here with this fold-down armrest that has this weird multi-tier center cup holder design, which I was very confused on with the old GLC that I was driving, but at this point, I think it was actually commenters that helped me figure it out. So the way you operate this is you do one push for the little phone holder thing, and then you do half a push, and that pops the cup holders out. So kind of a satisfying thing to operate, if I'm being honest. We have no climate panel back here, which is crazy for the $110,000 price tag. But whoever spec'd this did pay extra for the advanced USB package, which gets you these two USB-C ports in the back. Now, we do have vents back here. I don't see any here on the pillars, but I imagine obviously it comes out from under the seats, but only a couple of visible vents, two seat back pockets, and geez, do we even have heated rear seats? I don't think we do. Geez, this is like major kind of bummer here in the back seat. But what this is really all about is the driving experience, which is a bit funny because it's an SUV. I think you'd want to have some luxury in the back. But anyway, let's jump up front and we'll show you what that's all about. We have these illuminated AMG door sills, door panels. I mean, they're a pretty design, leather wrapped on the top, some sienna brown in the middle, scratchy plastic here on the bottom. We've got some of this silver accenting Burmester sound system, which, you know, we will test out for you. And then on the dashboard, which I really do like, and in fact, it's my favorite part of this whole interior, is this walnut wood, which is like a matte, and this is, as far as I can tell, real wood. And if it's not real, they've done a fantastic job copying it. What I don't like, though, is it's only on the dashboard. It's nowhere else. They didn't put it on the door panels, the center console, which is this super offensive piano black. Ooh, the doors, though. That's a very nice sound, whatever. Split folding armrest here. You can see a decent amount of room. We've got some more USB-C ports in there. But I don't know, I'm okay with the design of this modern Mercedes interior. I just wish that they would extend this wood a bit more, because you do have to pay extra for this, or you at least have to choose it. This doesn't just come on the car. So anyway, cool little AMG badge right here. I haven't seen that implemented on any other of these newer MBUX specified cars. So let's go ahead and start this up and we'll show you what all of the tech in here looks like. Get quite the futuristic startup noise there, of course, with this being a plug-in hybrid. You can see just from driving over here, I've drained almost half of our range. This is showing at 4 miles remaining. But the cool thing about this is when you're in race mode, if you're on a racetrack or something, this will recharge itself from 25% to 100% in 7 miles. So like 2 or 3 laps of a racetrack, you're going to be right up to 100% capacity. More of just a power boost, like Formula One tech in this car. Don't really think of this as an eco plug-in hybrid, especially since it's only rated at about 20 miles per gallon combined. So, I mean, I don't know. Plug-in hybrids are evolving. We've got some cup holders, we've got a wireless charger, and then just a place to put the phone. 2 more USB-C ports. Lots of USB-C ports in this thing. A pretty big glove box, and out of there we pull our Monroney. You can see total price $110,740. If you add in the electricity, this gets 31 mpg combined, but gasoline only 20, which honestly is pretty decent for the most powerful production 4-cylinder in the world. And oh yeah, we have 2.5 degrees of rear axle steering, which you do feel once you start moving. In fact, it's the most noticeable thing about the steering. I love that Mercedes has been implementing this into all, or most at least, of their AMG products. Heated and ventilated seats, which you can operate at the same time. We love to see that. 3 memory seat settings. And overall, I mean, aesthetically, things look pretty nice in here. This is the newest version of the MBUX, which means it looks like this. Instead of having to scroll through a million menus, you only have 2. So through comfort, we can change our ambient lighting. This has seat kinetics, so it has a little bit of a massage, but not a super impressive one. And then I always feel like I fail to show this because I just feel like it's redundant, but you have all these different cluster designs, and it also reflects to your infotainment system. I always just leave this in classic, and also because these stupid steering wheel haptic touch buttons are so frustrating to operate. Then you have track pace. Come on. Nope. There you go. But I don't know, I always just leave this in classic. Since this is an SUV, it has the off-road cluster as well, which does look quite nice. You can see your articulations and things in that. All right, I think this is enough. I think we can just put this, if I can get it. Come on. These are so annoying to use. Come on, go back over. There you go. Okay, never touching that again. Seatbelt on.
I can do things for you whenever you want, such as calling someone, writing text messages, or playing music. I can do things for you whenever you want, such as calling someone, writing text messages, or playing music. Because my heart's in it, I know everything there is to know about driving in your vehicle. For example, you can tell me, "Hey Mercedes, drive me home," or ask, "Hey Mercedes, is there congestion on my route?" You can also tell me if you're too warm, too cold, or if you're bored or hungry. My goal is to constantly evolve in order to give you the best possible support. Every now and again, just ask me if I've learned anything new. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and wish you a pleasant journey as always.
Have you ever heard a prompt that long in your entire life? I don't know what's going on lately with these Mercedes systems, but they seem to pick up just everything as you saying MERCEDES. I mean, look, she's still listening. Stop listening to me. So we'll see how many times it interrupts us during this drive today, but I just filmed a CLE 53 Cabrio last week, and it was like 20 times throughout the video this stupid thing was interrupting me. Anyway, into reverse, where we see our first flaw with this GLC 63S, and that is that half of the cameras are not working. The front camera and the right-hand side cameras are just blackness. There's nothing there. But if they were working, you could see the full quality of this otherwise very nice 360 camera. In the reversing camera, you can see these little bumperettes for low impact collisions. That's so funny. It reminds me of my Porsche Cayman S. Into drive. Wow, very nice front camera there. It's not a week with a Mercedes unless something is a little bit buggy. And this has been this week's problem with this GLC. Give you some sport contact ASMR there. Over the speed bump, where we get our first taste of those quite impressive active dampers here. But like I said in the walk around, the steering is really the first thing that you notice. It's very quick, it's pretty precise, and Mercedes usually does a pretty good job of getting this dialed in. It's a pretty lightweight steering, especially when you're in comfort mode. It's pretty much exactly what I want to see from a luxury SUV like this one, or crossover, whatever you want to call it. Okay, quite a bit of traffic coming. Let's put this actually into electric mode, and we'll do this first little bit. You guys can see what it's like on only electricity. This whole EV setup does add about 200 horsepower to the equation, so that's what we'll have to work with. Call me crazy, but I do actually kind of like the sound that Mercedes pipes in for this EV. It's almost like cyberpunk. I don't know. We had the same sound in the yellow AMG GT, and maybe I'm just nostalgic for that car. See everyone else doing their morning commute today. It's about that time. 14 minutes until 9 o'clock. I'm actually early today, though. I don't have to be to Ventique until 9:30. What I do really like about the plug-in hybrid nature of this GLC is that you can genuinely use this EV power to pull out into traffic. I mean, there's plenty of torque there. As we wait for these fellas to take their turn, let's go straight into sport. A little bit more of an aggressive tune here on this in sport mode, but we also have two more aggressive drive modes, Sport Plus, and then we have Race. I think it's funny how many varying levels of sport you can put the car in. It's like, usually I just go straight for race mode. I mean, why even waste the time in sport or sport plus? Get some drama from this 2-liter turbo. Couple little pops and burbles here and there. And then the noise between gears is thunderous. And this thing is seriously quick. I mean, what's a little bit different about this, of course, is that the electric motor is able to fill all of the gaps. So between gears, the car is still going. Just wild stuff. For this is a GLC. Like, of course it doesn't sound the part. I don't think this 2-liter sounds particularly good. I mean, it's just sounds like a 4-cylinder. Holy crap. Yeah. But have you ever experienced a 4-cylinder with over 700 pound-feet of torque? Because prior to this, I had not. Chuck it in. The way it's able to pull itself out of that corner with that torque from the electric motor, it's just wild. Oh man, and it feels pretty settled, honestly. I mean, with this being a crossover, it does sit higher than its sedan counterpart, the C63 AMG. But it feels so confident through the corners still. It almost makes you think, like, why do they even bother making the SUV when, I don't know. I mean, I guess to have extra room inside, but this one's the coupe, so it doesn't really make too much sense. And this whole experience has been brand new to me, because when the C63 S e-Performance came out, there was so much pushback and so much hate surrounding that car that I feel like Mercedes kind of just slid it back under the table, under the bed, whatever you want to say. They kind of hid that car, and I don't even know that there was a press car in our area. I mean, pushback understandably, because if you're going to keep the 63 badge, which originally meant 6.2 liter, 6.3 liter V8, and then you replace it with a 4-cylinder, it's a bit strange. But anyway, watch the race start in this thing. And if anyone's going to make a dramatic launch control, it's Mercedes. It tensions the seatbelt, does a wild kind of like 2-step rev limiter. It's just crazy. Okay, I'm actually going to go into my individual mode. That's going to soften up our suspension for this rough ride part of the journey up here. So there are some expansion joints here that actually stick up out of the road about 6 inches. This is always a pretty good test. Ride quality in this, from a comfort standpoint, is good. I wouldn't say it's excellent, but it's good. It's let down a bit by these wheels and tires, just because you can feel all of the other bits of road through the seat, not even necessarily through the steering wheel, but you can see just how quick the steering really is. But from a daily driving standpoint, I mean, this does genuinely still feel like a 63 AMG in that way. It's pretty hardcore. I mean, you saw it through the corners back there. It's very dialed in, it's very flat, it's very planted. It's so quick. Oh, it's starting to rain. Perfect. We're already done with our performance section. Let's put this back into comfort and begin our commute, begin our cruise here onto the highway. When this settles down with the exhaust in quiet mode, there is still a little bit of drone going on. You guys can hear that, but also the rain ASMR, so you're welcome. But yeah, it's almost like the 4-cylinder is kind of just always making noise, unless you're in electric mode, of course. We're going to turn our active lane keep assist back on so we can show you guys what these driver aids do. This has a pretty impressive system. Yeah, this is a bit bouncy, honestly, even in its comfort ride setting. And this section of highway is the best test because it is dreadful. All right, let's turn on this cruise control. So this is almost like super, no. Okay, see what I mean? The car is changing lanes. Stop. The car is changing lanes without me asking it to. What I was going to say before she interrupted me is that it's a bit like Super Cruise, though you do have to have your hands on the wheel about every 10 seconds or else it will yell at you. So it's not a full self-driving system, but this is part of the optional driver assistance pack that is specified on this particular GLC. Now this should change lanes without me asking it to do so. There you go. I did not have to touch the turn signal or anything. I've never experienced this before in a Mercedes-Benz, so this is the latest rendition of their driver aid technology. Pretty cool to see. I imagine it'll do if you ask it to make a lane change. Yep, it will. Okay. As far as like keeping it center in the lane and manners and stuff, I mean, it does a pretty good job. It's very professional. I'm pretty impressed with this system overall. Ergonomics here in this GLC are pretty good. We've got a nice bit of squish here from the split folding center armrest, and we also have some nice squish from the door panel. In fact, I would say the door panel quality is even better than the center console. And visibility out of this, out the front, is quite good. I can see right up just about to the tip of the hood there, and then mirrors are good. Out the sides, you're good. Now, the only bit of visual impairment you have is out the back, since this is the coupe body. And this is, I would say, even worse than the GLE. I mean, you guys can see just how little you can see out of that back window. I think maybe for 110 grand, give me a camera mirror. All right, let's take this on our favorite cloverleaf here. I'm gonna go, let's go full race mode. Heavy into the carbon ceramics. Okay, I don't know that I've ever been in another SUV that can do that. That's impressive. It's so flat through there. And one of the cool things about this is it's the smallest Mercedes crossover slash SUV that you can get with the 63 badge, but it has a lot of the tech from the bigger ones. So the active roll stabilization is the main one that comes to mind. So you have a smaller package, less weight to carry around, but it's able to use all of that fancy new tech to just make this thing unbelievable in the handling department. I mean, that is seriously wild. It's a little bit vague steering wise, but I mean, that's just the case with any of these newer products. Oh my! All right, well, as we just kind of cruise on this somewhat empty highway, this is crazy for 9 a.m. I guess everyone's already gotten to work, and I'm the one running late, except I'm not actually. All right, let's do a sound system test as we finish out this commute today. Show you guys what this Burmester is like.
That was my first and last mistake. I would do without your faith. What can I do? 'Cause I'm just a situation, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back.
No volume knob on any of these Mercedes vehicles that have this new UX design. Not a huge fan of that, especially because you guys saw how frustrating it was to just change the cluster while the volume is the same way. Luckily, you have a mute button down here. If you have an emergency, you need to mute the sound system, you can do that with this button on this little strip of buttons that are also haptic, but at least you can push in on that. Now, what I want to say about this Burmester is that it is quite impressive. Also, I love this lowered F-150 that we're passing by. It's getting up there for best in class. I would still put the Bowers & Wilkins and the Volvo XC60 above it, but I would put this above the sound system in the BMW X3. Similar Audis that have a Bang & Olufsen, though it is close with those. This is way better than the Harman Kardon in the BMWs, though. So this is kind of like, I would probably rank it second, honestly. It's a pretty dang good sound system. Lots of power, lots of ways to customize the way you want to hear the bass. I always like to have mine on punch because these Burmesters always have very good power. And then I like where Mercedes has been putting these, okay, we're doing another lane change. I like where Mercedes has been putting these tweeters kind of up here in the door panels. I like the sound that comes from them. Seat comfort. We have a physical button for the lumbar down here on the side of the seat, which is pretty wild, honestly. For a Mercedes, usually you have to go into the infotainment and deal with that. Transitions between EV and ICE seem to be pretty seamless. Honestly, the only bit of weird clunkiness I've had this week is a couple of 2-to-1 shifts from the 9-speed, but otherwise it's been completely flawless. Since we recharged the battery while in race mode, we can now use that to do this traffic. In fact, I can even put this, I can lock this into electric mode and do the traffic this way. Let's make our lane change. Oh, they almost crashed. Come on, go ahead. Get over. Doesn't need to get over now. I'm gonna wait because I don't want to be the one that gets sideswiped. Brake pedal feel in the GLC 63 is a bit weird. While these brakes are quite impressive and they bring this 5,200 pound crossover to a stop in a very respectable distance, the actual pedal itself, it's a bit weird, honestly, with this plug-in hybrid. I think since Mercedes is kind of new to this whole performance plug-in hybrid thing, they've still got a couple of kinks to work out on this brake pedal. It's very touchy, and you almost feel like you push through the regen into the actual brakes, and sometimes that can be a little bit uncomfortable in scenarios where you want to do your limo stops, you have people in the car, you don't want to make them sick. Sometimes this, I don't know, it's just not really the most comfortable thing. Stop listening to me. Obviously you can turn that off, but we like to keep it on, so every journalist after me has to suffer the same. Supra! Alrighty guys, well, as we complete the last 5 minutes of our commute, let's wrap this one up. So, this car, it's a bit weird because the performance on this is just insanity. I mean, it's fast. It boings off the line like nobody's business. It's a 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds, which is just wild for a GLC. It's mostly comfortable in the interior as far as the seat, the elbows, the visibility, mostly, not out of the back, but everywhere else. It makes sense. Ride quality, I think, is pretty good. It could be a bit more comfortable. Brake pedal's a little bit weird. So, all in all, this feels like a car that's about 95% finished, which for a first effort for making a 63 e-performance plug-in hybrid thing on the GLC platform, I would say is successful for Mercedes-Benz. I think they've done a good job here. It's very expensive, starting at $91,000, but if you go for the SUV, it starts at $85,000 as opposed to the Coupe. So, I mean, by the time you option this thing, it's going to be a $100,000 GLC, and you just have to ask yourself, is it worth it? I mean, I think this is one of those cars where I would just recommend you go and you get the C63 e-Performance, or just wait for them to ultimately bring back the 4-liter V8 into this platform. It's a bit heavy, it doesn't sound very good, but it really gets the job done as far as straight line speed and going around a corner. It's unreal. But would I get this as a commuter? I don't know that that would really be necessary, but if you want a C63 and you want a little bit more room, well then here you go. Mercedes makes that possible for you. It's still very impressive, even though it does look very similar to that Buick Envista. Let's get this GLC 63 SE Performance Coupe parked up, and we'll give you guys one last look at it. Very, very quick steering into reverse. I keep thinking one of these times these cameras are actually going to work, but they have not yet. Into park. Upon turning off the engine or the vehicle altogether, the parking brake will automatically apply. She's going to tell me I forgot my phone? Not today? Okay. Never mind. I do love this Verde silver. Not a manufacturer color, just a standard color. You'd have to pay extra for it, but it is not manufacturer. All right, well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for us today. Let me know what all of you guys think about this GLC and also this new 63 SE performance powertrain that Mercedes is putting in some of these vehicles. But that'll do it for us. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. I'm going to go take some pictures and then go home and maybe take a nap. Okay, take care.